10 minutes of owning it. Your brain doubles the price. A squirrel never overpays. It knows exactly which acorn is worth the dig. A crow only drops a hard nut from height if the payoff is worth the flight. Every wild animal on Earth prices risk against reward instantly, for free, without training. Then there's you, standing in a checkout line, unable to price a blender you barely use. That's not a personal flaw. It's a glitch stores, apps, and casinos learn to exploit. This video breaks down real tricks, real studies, real dollar amounts, all built on that exact glitch. Most people think they shop with logic and only get talked out of it by a good salesman. But most of the manipulation never touches a salesman. It's built into the floor plan itself. Walk into almost any supermarket and watch your own feet. You will turn right. Researcher Paco Underhill's firm logged thousands of hours of in-store video and found that same pattern everywhere. Milk and eggs sit at the back right corner. Not by accident, by design. To grab the two things you actually needed, you just walked past every aisle in the building. That's not convenience. That's forced exposure to every shelf they're paid to put in front of you. And near the entrance, the bakery ovens are running right on schedule. That smell hits your hunger before your cart even has a single item in it. Hunger makes you buy more of everything, not just bread. That trade-off pays for itself. Now look up. That eye-level cereal box isn't there because it's the best cereal. A brand can pay over $25,000 per product, per store chain, just for that spot. That's called a slotting fee. What looks like popularity is really an auction you never saw happen. Now open your phone. The manipulation didn't stay behind in the store. Amazon used to say, "Buy now." Then internal testing quietly changed the words on that button. Buy feels like a loss leaving your account. Order sounds like paperwork, not money. One word softened the exact moment your brain is supposed to flinch at spending. Speaking of that flinch, here's a number that should bother you. In 2001, researchers Drazen Prelek and Duncan Semester watched people bid on identical items with cash or card. Card bidders offered up to double what cash bidders offered for the exact same item. Cash triggers a flicker in the insula, the brain region tied to physical pain. Cards barely touch it. Paying with plastic doesn't just feel easier, it quiets the part of you built to flinch at loss. That's one reason a subscription renewing quietly on a card never feels like real money leaving. Now picture a casino floor. You've probably noticed you lose all track of time in there. That part's intentional. But there's a stranger trick working on you that has nothing to do with clocks. Casino floors are deliberately kept at slightly higher air pressure than the outside world. When the doors open, that pressure pushes air out instead of letting outside smells drift in. That locks their own proprietary scent around you, a soft blend of floral and clean linen, a smell you can't quite name, quietly nudging your mood up and your sense of timeout. Now the machine in front of you. Watch what happens when you technically win. You bet 25 cents. It pays back 5. Lights flash and music plays, same as a jackpot. Psychologist Mike Dixon at the University of Waterloo documented this. It's called a loss disguised as a win. Your brain logs it as a win. Your wallet knows it was a loss. Only one of them is honest. Do that enough times a minute, and losing starts to feel exactly like winning, over and over. Every one of these tricks works on a single glitch buried deep in how your brain values ownership. In 1990, 3 researchers ran an experiment that finally put a number on that glitch. Daniel Kahneman, Jack Netsch, and Richard Thaler handed half a room of students a plain coffee mug. The other half got nothing but cash and the option to buy that same mug. Then they asked the mug owners, "What's your price to sell this back?" And they asked the buyers, "What would you actually pay for it?" Owners demanded roughly twice as much to give it up as buyers were willing to pay. They had owned that mug for less than 10 minutes. 10 minutes was enough for their brains to start treating it like a piece of themselves. Researchers name this the endowment effect. Once something becomes yours, losing it hurts more than gaining it felt good. That's the actual trap in this video's title. Not a scam, a wiring flaw every one of us shares. Once you know that, every trick from the store and the casino suddenly makes a lot more sense. Free returns aren't generous. They're a delivery method for that exact 10-minute glitch. Zappos found something telling in its own return data. Customers who tried shoes on and held them returned far fewer pairs than online-only browsers. Holding the box was enough. Ownership started before the sale ever finished. That's why the return window feels generous. It's really a countdown time to your attachment. The same 30-day countdown shows up on free trials, and it rarely lands during a calm week. By the time you remember to cancel, you've used it enough to already feel like it's yours. That's not laziness. That's the same 10-minute glitch, just stretched out over 30 days. Ownership isn't only triggered by holding something. Sometimes it's triggered by building it. In 2011, researchers Norton Mochon and Ariely studied people who assembled their own IKEA boxes. Those buyers valued their own imperfect boxes 63% higher than identical pre-built ones. The box being uglier didn't matter. The sweat put into it did. Effort alone can make something feel more valuable than it actually is. Now stack a completely different trick on top of ownership: the decoy. The Economist once sold print only, digital only, and print plus digital at the same price as print alone. Nobody was ever really supposed to buy the print-only option. It existed purely to make the bundle look like the obvious steal next to it. One useless option can quietly shift what your brain calls a good deal. None of this requires lying to you. It just requires knowing exactly how your comparisons work. So why doesn't just knowing all this make it stop working on you? Here's the honest, mainstream answer, and it's not that you're weak-willed. Kahneman and his collaborator Amos Tversky built a framework around this called prospect theory. Losses are felt roughly twice as intensely as equivalent gains ever feel good. Losing $20 stings more than finding $20 ever delights you. For most of human history, a lost resource could mean a lost meal, or worse. Ancestors who felt losses sharply and reacted fast survived long enough to pass that wiring on. You didn't inherit a flaw. You inherited a survival alarm that never got the memo: mugs aren't berries. That alarm doesn't check your bank balance or your bandwidth before it goes off. And here's a fairness point worth saying clearly: that alarm rings louder for people with less financial slack. Researchers Sendhil Mullainathan and Eldar Shafir called this scarcity. Less slack leaves less bandwidth to resist a pull like this. So this isn't about blaming anyone for getting caught. These systems were built by people who study the glitch for a living. That's the fair, mainstream explanation. Ancient wiring, modern rooms built specifically to trigger it. That settles it, right? Well, not quite. Because knowing the name of a trap doesn't switch it off. In 2010, UX designer Harry Brignall coined a term for interfaces built to exploit exactly that gap. He called them dark patterns. One of the worst is the Roach Motel. Signing up takes 3 clicks. Canceling takes 7 screens and sometimes a phone call. Within 4 years of naming it, Brignall had cataloged this pattern on over 1,200 major websites. So even when you march in ready to cancel, the exit door was built narrower than the entrance on purpose. That answers a question a lot of people ask: why the pull doesn't vanish just because you named it? Knowledge lives in one part of your brain. That ancient loss alarm lives somewhere faster and older in me. Awareness helps you catch it after the fact. It rarely helps you catch it while your thumb is already moving. Some of these designs don't even wait for you to make a decision at all. Plenty of services quietly bump your plan up once you cross a usage line buried in the terms. You didn't choose that upgrade. A threshold did, one you never read. Former Pinterest president Tim Kendall later told Congress something worth sitting with. He said the unpredictable timing of a like notification was built on the same science as a slot machine. You never know exactly when the next one lands. That uncertainty is the entire hook. Casinos run a version of this too, but with your losses instead of your likes. A loyalty card quietly tracks how much you've lost. And casinos use that number to time a free comp just right. Not to reward you. To calculate exactly how much more you can lose before you'd walk away for good. So can you actually beat any of this in the exact moment it's happening? Mostly no, not by willpower alone. The moment is built to move faster than willpower does. But the moment before the moment, that one you can actually control. Deciding your return policy before you unbox something. Setting a reminder days before a trial renews. That's not beating human nature, that's just building your own guardrail around it. None of this is about blaming yourself for being human. It's about knowing which room you're standing in. Remember that mug from the start of this video? It was never really about a mug. It was about the 10 minutes that came before it. In those 10 minutes, something ordinary quietly became a piece of you. That's not a weakness unique to you. It's a feature of every human brain that ever learned to call something mine. Stores didn't invent that feeling. They just learned exactly where to stand when it happens. Every squirrel, every crow, every fox out there still prices the world with total clarity. You're the only species clever enough to build a room that turns your own instincts against you. Maybe that's not proof you're broken. Maybe it's proof of how deeply you're wired to care about what's yours. Next time something in your hand suddenly feels priceless, pause. Ask what room you're standing in. Subscribe for more of what's really shaping your choices.